If you ignore these 6 Etsy seller tips, you might regret it later. And that could look like not getting views or sales on your listings. Or perhaps you've started to get views and sales and you feel like you've plateaued and you're unable to experience growth or scale your Etsy shop. The first tip we're going to address is using Creative Fabrica in the wrong way. But before we jump into that, I just wanted to say I'm simply Shauna. You're watching the channel No Friend Left Behind, and on this channel, several of my friends are sharing their journeys, their Etsy journeys. I've experienced such success with Etsy myself that of course I want all of my friends to also experience the financial freedom that Etsy has brought me. And so they're on this journey with me and they're building their Etsy shops. And while being able to watch them build their shops, I am reminded of all of the self-doubt and limiting beliefs that I had throughout the beginning of my journey. Because I realized that all of those things that I thought are normal because they're thinking them too. And so I don't always talk about these things in my YouTube videos because somehow I thought that it was just me that struggled with that, and that isn't normal for everyone to be thinking the things that I thought when I was first starting out on Etsy. But between the group here on No Friends Left Behind and some other amazing Etsy sellers that are in the beginning of their Etsy journeys, I've realized that this is something that if I struggled with it, the other people here at No Friends Left Behind have struggled with, and some other Etsy sellers that I've chatted with have struggled with, then, well, this might be a very needed video, and maybe you're struggling with this too. So let's jump in. Using Creative Fabrica in the wrong way is the first mistake we're going to go over. And what do I mean by that? I know you're watching a lot of videos that are saying you need to list consistently and you need to list a lot if you are working in the POD, print on demand space on Etsy. And I agree with that sentiment. That is one of the things that I did that helped me. And well, yeah, it's kind of true because you have to get through a learning curve. And the only way to get through that learning curve is to do the thing. And it took me quite a few times of doing the thing, meaning creating the designs, listing the designs, and continually wanting to get better during that process. But with our hunger to get those listings up, sometimes we can get into the rut of going over to Creative Fabrica and downloading a bunch of images, putting them in our designs, and putting them out on shirts, just so we could get volume out in our shops. The problem with using Creative Fabrica in this way is, yes, you are going to wind up with a lot of designs in your shop, but you are creating designs that are not based on market research. You are not choosing clip art based on what you've observed in the Etsy marketplace during your research. And I will leave a video linked here and down below if you need more help with market research. It's one of my favorite things to make videos about. It's what I think is really fun. And it's also the absolute most important thing you can learn how to do if you're a print-on-demand seller on Etsy, in my opinion at least. Now, this is a skill that does take practice, and we are not practicing it if we are going over to Creative Fabrica and just downloading clip art that we think is fun or cute in the niche that we're working in. That's not backed by research. The more pieces of your design that are included because of a decision you're making as a result of your market research, the layout, the phrase, the images, the vibe, the mock-up, the clip art that you're choosing, the font, the more of those decisions that you're making based on research, the more likely you are to create designs that people want to buy. And if you're going to Creative Fabrica first, downloading images that are not based on that research, then that is not really the way you want to use Creative Fabrica. Now, I love Creative Fabrica. I use them all the time. If you're not familiar, it's a website that you can join for a fee, and then you can use all the clip art that you want to in designs in your POD shop. There's licenses for each of the types of clip art. I like to make sure that I'm using clip art from their website that has a POD license specifically. I will leave them linked down below if you haven't given them a try yet. But also watch one of my market research-based decision-making videos so you make good decisions when you go into Creative Fabrica to choose your clip art. Mistake number 2, and I know I struggled with this one my entire first probably year and a half, is listing too late for the niches that you're listing in. So if you're doing a holiday niche or listing for Mother's Day or for Father's Day or for Christmas or for Halloween, getting in there and starting to list too late. I know my whole first year, I was still listing for Halloween way past when I should have been and not getting into Christmas early enough. And I did that the entire time and throughout the entire year for like every event. So one of the biggest things that I did for myself during that period of time is once Cassiy Johnson had our YouTube channel, she put out a calendar that gave you listing dates and windows of when you should be listing by. That helped me so much use my time wisely and make sure that I was listing in time and moving on to the next niche in a good amount of time also. Since getting started on YouTube and teaching others and helping others through their Etsy journeys, I've created a couple of those types of calendar resources as well. I've done a general one that takes you throughout the entire year. I've also done one specifically to help you prepare for Q4 and making sure that you know when to get in there and list by. You really want to be listing up to 90 days ahead on certain big holidays, and you definitely don't want to be getting in there too late. It's thundering and lightning and Tucker's sitting on my lap. That made him a little nervous. I don't know if you can hear the thunder. I will leave Cassiy's calendar linked down below, and I'll also leave the ones I've created linked down below if that's something you think would be a good investment for your Etsy business. If you feel like you're constantly not knowing when you should be listing so that your things can get worked into the algorithm in time to be seen by shoppers as searches are climbing on Etsy. That's the magic, that's the magic. You want to make sure that you're listing in time so that you're getting caught up with the search volumes that are going up. And you want to make sure you're listing early enough that you have time to consistently list over time so that you can get yourself worked into the algorithm. Which leads me to, that's unintentionally listing late, right? Because you just don't realize it and you're trying to get ready for one holiday and you don't get ready for the next one in time. I've been asked a number of times about intentionally waiting. And I think this comes from a story that I've shared about my own journey, my first Q4. I was about a year into my shop. I had a huge Q4 where I put a listing. I started listing for Christmas early. I started listing in plenty of time in July. I started listing for Christmas, and I did not stop listing for Christmas until Black Friday. And something that I put out Black Friday weekend took off and it went nuts, and I made $6,000 profit in a 2-week span from Black Friday to mid-December on that one listing. Altogether in that span of time, like those 30 days, I had made right around $12,000 or $13,000 profit from all of the Christmas listings put together, but that one listing had just done so well. So I've been asked many times, hey, Shauna, but why shouldn't I just wait till Black Friday to put my listings out? That way no one can copy them. My success from that one listing wasn't just because I had put it out on Black Friday and no one had a chance to copy me. Yeah, that did work in my favor, and that it didn't get copied until the following year. But the only reason that I got a bestseller on that and it went so crazy is because I had been listing regularly, consistently since July of that year in my Christmas listings, every week putting them out. And I had just a couple of Christmas niches that I was working in. So I was really building each of them up. I was building myself up in the algorithm with all of my SEO that I was attaching. Etsy was seeing me as someone who knew what I was talking about in this particular space, right? Like I'm feeding the algorithm with this SEO and with these particular niches. And then on top of that, I'm learning from all of the interaction that listing was getting. And I kept doubling down on it. If you don't know what double down means, I'll leave a video linked here and down in the description. But in a nutshell, it just meant to make more in that niche. Now, it could mean to put your design on additional products, but that's not usually the direction that I first go when I start doubling down. I double down in that niche. I do other popular phrases in that niche. I might look up some of my own puns for that niche. I might do the same phrase that I'm getting traction with in a completely different design, different layout, different colors, different vibe. Maybe the first one was retro and this one's completely different. So I do a lot of designs in that niche. And that's exactly what I did with that listing that I earned $6,000 profit from in that short amount of time. It was maybe the fifth or sixth design that I created that I had been growing from the original. The original one got some traction. I was like, oh, well, maybe if I do this with it, maybe if I do that with it, maybe if I turn it into a couple's shirt, maybe if I turn this into a family set. And that is how I grew that into such a money-making listing. So, to recap so far, we don't go into Creative Fabrica and randomly download any cute images willy-nilly that we liked. We base this on market research. 2, we make sure we list intentionally on time. And special note, it is not a good strategy to wait till Black Friday to put all your Christmas listings out. Start getting those out in July. And this kind of leads me nicely into mistake number 3, which is holding yourself back because you're afraid to compete with yourself. So take a look in your shop. Is there a phrase that you're getting traction with, a design that you're getting traction with in a certain niche? Have you done that phrase up? 5 other completely different layouts, completely different ways. And if you haven't, is that because you're afraid to compete with yourself? Are you afraid by putting new listings out with that phrase that now the customer won't know which one to buy, and now you are taking sales away from that original listing that you created, and somehow this is making your shop not do well? Okay, I know this is something that I really was concerned with for a number of months when I first got started. If I had a t-shirt that said, "This is my scary teacher costume," well then I wouldn't want to make another scary teacher costume because I want people to buy the one that's already getting visits and views. Why would I put something else out on the market that's going to distract people from buying the one that I already created and that is already getting visits and views? I wish I could go have a chat with that Shauna, and I wish I could accelerate her growth so much faster. That was such a self-limiting belief. This is not something you need to worry about. You are the best person to compete with. Compete with yourself. Outdo yourself every single day before other people on Etsy outdo you, because they will. Not to mention, when someone clicks into your listing and they see this design that they like, the first thing that they're going to do is scroll down to look at the reviews. Right under the reviews are other listings from your shop. And if you have other designs with that phrase and similar SEO, Etsy will automatically pull those listings to show them because Etsy wants to sell them something. They clicked into your shop, Etsy's giving you the first chance to sell them something. If Etsy can't find anything similar in your shop to show them, they'll show them other random things. This customer that clicked into the teacher shirt that says scary teacher costume is unlikely to buy a dental tooth fairy shirt that they're randomly seeing down there. They're not there to see that. And then right below that section, Etsy is going to show them other things that they might be interested in from other shops. And well, I know that I have a number of times clicked on something else I was interested in that section, because they will find other similar things to your listing. And if the customer likes one of those things a bit better than the thing that they clicked into for your shop, then you've lost that customer. So double down on what is getting viewed and clicked and purchased and compete with yourself. Don't make something that looks just like it. Make something with that same phrase that looks totally different. Make 5 things with that same phrase that looks totally different. There is no such thing as competing with yourself. Mistake number 4 that I really want you to avoid is focusing on the copiers. However many times you feel someone has made something similar to yours or flat out copied you, maybe copied a unique idea that you had. Just imagine when you get a little more successful than you are now, you're going to have even more of that. It's not going to go away. People are going to copy you. But if you let that ruin your energy, if you let that take all of your creative juices and all of your warm, fuzzy feelings, and you let that turn you into like angry and anxious, and why am I even doing this if people are just going to copy me? Then you will not be able to continue moving forward and creating really awesome things that are worth copying in the future. Now, I'm not saying that I don't get annoyed when I see people copying me. Yes, it annoys me. But really focusing on that, you are now giving your future, you've handed it over to someone else. Because if you're going to focus on that and not focus on the next research-based design that you're putting in your shop that adds value to the market, that's the thing that's going to make you the money. Not focusing on the folks that are copying. And well, now I am going to tell you that there's been a handful of times, maybe 2 handfuls of times, that some copiers have actually gotten a lot of traction with what they've copied from my shop. But most of the time, they aren't. And I keep regularly producing new things that add value to the market. And so, well, most of the time, my shop is winning theirs anyways. In the beginning, yes, there were a couple of big shops that copied something of mine a couple of times, and they did better with that design that they copied. It happened. It was annoying, but I overcame that, and so will you. But I overcame that by focusing on the right thing. And I know it's hard to see when you're in the midst of being really upset about that, but don't ever hand your success or your future over to someone else and say, well, I'm not going to do this anymore because that person over there is doing this thing. They're the copiers, right? They're over there copying me, so I'm not going to do this anymore. That is empowering someone else with so much greatness that you have in store for you. So take the reins back, make the right decision, and move forward. Mistake number 5, and this isn't one that I personally made. I was actually really good at this particular thing, but I've watched some of my friends struggle through this toward the beginning of their journeys. And that is, are you watching enough YouTube content? It's not like you can go take a college class for how to be a POD Etsy seller. You have to teach yourself this through content on YouTube, or perhaps you want to take a YouTube course, which there are lots of great YouTube courses that you could take if you prefer to do it that way. I'll leave Cassiy Johnson's link down below. I have worked with her and I do think she's amazing. But whatever you do, you have to be listening to content. For me, I listened to content and still do, but I listened to content while I was still a 4th grade teacher because I was a 4th grade teacher. And once my Etsy shop started to scale, I quit my teaching job and went full-time into Etsy. I would listen to about 30 minutes of content on my way to school and 30 minutes of content on my way home from school. Then I would listen to it while I would go for a run, while I was in the shower, while I was cooking dinner. I snuck in all kinds of moments to listen to my content. Now, when I get home from school, when I was actually at the house, I no longer wanted to listen to content because then I needed to be designing and listing. But listening to all that content helped me to continually improve the skills that I needed to improve. I wound up with lots of tips. I'll give you a couple of examples. Life-changing moments while I listened to YouTube content. One day on my way home from school, I was going to stop listing Christmas stuff. But the YouTuber I was listening to said, listen till Black Friday. I was a week out from Black Friday. So I listened, and I listed all the way till Black Friday. That listing that I mentioned that made me $6,000, that listing really accelerated my shop's growth during that period of time. And that was one of the listings that I created as a result of that YouTuber's advice. Another time I was feeling down in the dumps, feeling like, Etsy just doesn't show my stuff to people. That's why this isn't working. And the YouTuber said, if your stuff isn't getting seen, it's either because your SEO isn't great or your designs suck. Figure out which one it is. Pull up your big girl panties and let's get going. Well, they didn't say it exactly that way, but that's the way I heard it. And well, you know what? I stopped feeling sorry for myself and I listened to those words of advice. And I really went in thinking, okay, I'm not doing something right. I have control over this. I can change something and I can create the future I want. It's not up to the Etsy gods. If I hadn't been listening regularly to content, I wouldn't have heard these things when I needed to hear them. Not to mention all of the strategies that I was being taught and being able to implement. Mistake number 6 that I would really love to help you avoid is not being consistent. And well, what does that even mean? I think most of us know that when we hear consistent, we know that we're referring to listing in your shop. Does that mean every day? Does that mean every week? For me, it was weekly. And I would upload my listings 2 to 3 times a week, but I had a certain number in mind. I wanted to make sure I was doing 20, 25, 30 listings every week, depending on where I was at, where I've been at in my journey. But consistency doesn't just mean making sure that you're uploading listings weekly. For me, being consistent in the niches that I wanted to make money in was really important. And this goes hand in hand with doubling down on what is working also. Choosing niches that have a thread that connects them throughout the year can be really helpful to help you be consistent in at least a couple of niches. So I will give an example of that. Let's say you're doing bride shirts. Well, you can list bride shirts every month of the year. Maybe you're not going to do it every week, but at least consistently doing that every month of the year. Ones that are targeting the holidays, ones that are targeting evergreen types of themes. Another example might be pregnancy shirts. You can have pregnancy shirts that are based on the holidays, and you could be listing them each and every month. But then you can also look at baby shower invitations and other products for ideas on how to make evergreen types of designs for the pregnancy niche also. And you can build this niche. It's like the pregnancy mom is the thread that connects the whole year. But the types of specific designs that you'd be releasing each month would change, but you'd still be doubling down on your efforts. Double down doesn't mean that if you sold a Christmas pregnancy shirt that you have to make more Christmas pregnancy shirts. Yes, do that if it's the right time frame, but continue to double down on that niche. By now, if you got traction on pregnancy Christmas shirts, now let's make some pregnancy Valentine's Day shirts. Let's make some pregnancy St. Patrick's Day shirts. Let's make some pregnancy pink balloon shirts because we see that that's a best-selling baby shower invitation. Pregnancy mom is a thread throughout the year that will help you consistently list, but each month you'll be listing very different designs for that niche. Consistency is absolutely vital if you want to do well on Etsy. That's our official list of 6 mistakes you really want to avoid. 1, you don't want to go in and create a Fabrica and just willy-nilly, without research, download your clip arts. You don't want to use Creative Fabrica in the wrong way. 2, you don't want to wait too late to list your designs for the upcoming holiday or season. 3, you don't want to hold yourself back by thinking that you're going to compete with yourself by doubling down and creating more in the niches that you're working in. 4, you don't want to focus on copiers and give them the keys to your future. 5, you want to make sure that you're watching enough YouTube content that you're getting the mindset videos that you need and that you're getting the strategy videos that you need so that you can be successful. And 6, you want to make sure that you're being consistent. And that doesn't just mean regular uploads every single week. It means being consistent within your niches as well. And I'll give you a bonus if you're still here. First of all, if you're still here, go down into the comments just for fun so I know you stayed all the way to the end. And let me know what your favorite dessert is. Mine are fresh chocolate chip cookies right out of the oven. I don't like too many chocolate chips. I like to space them out so that each bite gets about 1 chocolate chip in it. But the 7th mistake I'll give you as a bonus is do not give up too early. There is space for you on Etsy. You can do this. I swear it. I know you can. There is space for you and you can make the sales. You just don't want to give up too early. You don't want to give up before you've gotten through your learning curve of understanding how to create designs that people want to buy. And you can do that. Don't forget to hit the like button if you felt like you got some value from this video. And don't forget to click subscribe if you would like to see more videos from this channel, No Friend Left Behind, popping up in your feed. We'll see you next time.